Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate it very much. Charlie was very fortunate when he was coming up in Thomasville, Georgia. That's only about 25 miles from Tallahassee. My house would be about 25 miles from his house. And he was very fortunate to have a mother and dad that stayed together, raised their family, big family. And that's one of the things we've got missing in our nation today. And but anyway, he's the result of that. As he mentioned, my marriage of 62 years, I tell you what, it was 58 happy years, really. I enjoyed that woman. You know, if you watch television today and you're watching the college teams, in my opinion, football today is as good as it's ever been on the field. Whereas when I watch football game, which I'm able to do all the time now that I'm retired, when you're coaching, you don't have time. You're so busy watching your own team. As soon as you get through with the game, you got another one, and you don't get to see what other people are doing. You know, but now that I'm retired, I do get to see what other people are doing. And I've never seen football as entertaining as it is today on the field. Now, there are things happening off the field that we're ashamed of, you know, but it's true all over the nation and every other profession also, you know. But the game on the field it's just beautiful. Reminds me of the great basketball teams that you see, you know, the coordination, some of the things that they do. But the reason I mentioned that, wouldn't you say that Charlie started that? 1992, we went to the shotgun. Charlie was our quarterback. We started off with the T, with him under center, and he was doing pretty good. Then we put him in the shotgun, and he killed him. He killed him. We lost 2 games while he was there. He took us to the top. Won the conference championship, won a national championship, just did a tremendous job. But what you're seeing now on television reminds me of Charlie when Charlie was at Florida State, you know. And because he was very successful in the shotgun formation. I appreciate your school. You know, I've had an opportunity to speak at quite a few Christian schools lately. I mean, I'm talking about up in Minnesota, up in out in Wyoming, all over the country, really. And you know what? Your school and your type of school could be a very big force in us saving our nation. I'm concerned about our nation. You know, if you're going to have a democracy and you're going to have freedom, you've got to have religion. Because a democracy is vulnerable. Anybody that wants to can come in here. Anybody that wants to can do whatever they want to do until they get caught. You know what? So if the people coming in here don't have morals, they can steal, they can kill, they can do this, they can do that. And we're just seeing so much of that now. You know what? And the answer is, of course, that every individual in America has morals of what is right and what is wrong. And so now I mention that because your school is teaching that. Your school is teaching that. In a lot of our public schools, they can't get it. When I studied the history of Germany, my mama was German. Her side of the family was German. And I've always kept up with Germany pretty good. Not that I believe in everything they did. But before World War II, Germany was a pretty Christian nation. Have y'all ever been over there? Every town has when you go into a town, the first thing you see is a big church. You know, you see up on the hill, there's a town up there, you see a big church steeple, that's the first thing you see. Very, very religious, mostly Christian people. And then Hitler comes along, and he kicks God out. Kicks him out of the school, just like we are. Can't have prayer in school, just like we do. Can't read the Bible in school, just like we do. You know what? Can't call it Christmas anymore, you got to call it something else. Can't call it Easter, you got to call it spring break. That's what he did. What happened to them? Totally destroyed. Just like the Bible predicts, people who obey God are blessed. Nations who obey God are blessed. No nation has ever been blessed like this nation of ours. But we've gotten away from it. We've gotten away from it. And now we owe everybody in the world money, you know. And I think, let's see, 2 Chronicles 7:14. Are y'all familiar with that? 2 Chronicles 7:14. In other words, if we wanted to solve America's problems today, I know how to do it. Because God told us 4,000 years ago when he wrote it down in 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, you know, and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. Aren't we a nation? Aren't we a nation of his people? We were founded that way, you know. If my people will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, I will hear them from heaven. I will forgive them their sins. And what else he say you do? I'll heal their land. Is that what we need? Well, he's given us the answer. He's given us the answer. I don't know why I said all that. I didn't mean to talk about that tonight, but it just got on my mind, you know. because y'all are doing something about it. You see, if my 6 kids were growing up again, I guarantee you I'd put them in a Christian school. You know what? I feel so sorry for, you know, the boys, Charlie, we were in school with when you were at Florida State, and the last few years I coached there, you know, most of them didn't have a family. Most of my boys did not have a family, didn't have a daddy. A boy needs a daddy. Thank God for mamas. Thank God for mamas. They're raising our kids. But don't you believe they need a male? Somebody telling them you can't do this, you can't do that, and you better do this, you better do that. Sure, that's what they need. But bless their hearts, they can't help it. You know? But anyway, I guess all we can do is pray about it. My youngest daughter was attending West Virginia about 20 years ago. She was dating one of our football players. They were getting pretty close. You know, they were kind of talking about marriage. My wife said, Bobby, you need to talk to John. We don't know enough about him. He's dating Ginger, and they're getting pretty serious. They're talking about marriage. You need to talk to him, find out what he's all about. I said, well, I'll do that. I'll do that. So she invited him over to supper. And before we had supper, I called old John back in the den there, you know, and closed the door and got talking to him. You know. I said, John, I know you and Ginger are talking about getting married and everything. I said, how are you going to support her? You don't even have a job. You're trying to go to college. You don't even have a job. You know. He said, well, I'm trying to get my degree, and if I get my degree, I'll see if I can find a job. And anyway, God will help me. Okay? What are you going to do about a car? You don't have a car. How are you going to get her to school and you to work, and you ain't going to use mine? You know. Now, what are you going to do? How are you going to do about a car? Well, if I get a job, I could save enough money to get a car, and God will help me. And every time I would ask him about something, it was, well, God will help me. You know. And I was, okay. So anyway, we talked for about an hour, and we went, Ann said, we're ready to eat. So come on, John, let's go eat. So we go in there, and as I walk by Ann, she grabs my arm and said, hey, Bobby, did you talk to John? I said, yeah, Ann, I did. I talked to him about an hour. Well, what do you think? What about him? I said, Ann, I really like him. He thinks I'm God. I was born in 1929. Anybody know what happened back in 29? The Big Depression. You think it's bad now, baby. It was bad then. So you asked me, do you remember it? I said, I was born then. No, I don't remember it, you know. But I was raised during the Depression. Depression was during the 30s. You know, we broke out of it after when the war started. But my granddad built courthouses. I told you Mama was German. My granddaddy was German. And he built courthouses. His wife had died. Granddad was about 70, about 65 or 70 when about what I'm talking about right now. He built courthouses in Alabama and Georgia and Mississippi, and some of them still stand today. But and so he made good money. Like I say, his wife had died. He lived by himself. And Mother said that when the Depression hit, that Granddaddy went to the bank to get his money, and bank had nothing. Bank was broke. So he had nothing. He had nothing. And so back in those days, he moved in with us. That's what you did back then, you know. So my granddaddy moves in with us. Well, in my room, it was me, and I had twin beds in there. So I slept in one bed, and Granddaddy slept in the other bed up till I was 15, you know. And so then later on, another one of my uncles, he lost his job. He moved in. He had two boys my age. They slept with me. So I slept with two cousins in this bed. Granddaddy slept over in that bed. I never slept alone till I got married. You know. But I think that's just the way that's the way that goes. Ann and I decided we'd take a little vacation a couple of summers ago. So we'll go up to Washington, D.C., you know. We'll go to the museum up there and look at a lot of the history. And we got reservations in the Watergate Hotel. Y'all remember the Watergate? Okay, we get reservations at the Watergate Hotel. Big deal, right? So we go up there and we check in. We ain't going to stay but one night. Then we head out somewhere else. But we go up there and check in at the Watergate. We go up and unpack our bags and go out and have supper, and then I think maybe go to a movie or something like that, and then come back to our room and start to go to bed. So Ann gets dressed, ready to go to bed, and right before she jumps in the bed, she says, "Dad, Bobby, I bet this room's bugged." Now, ain't that like a woman? Huh? I bet this room is bugged. I said, Ann, that's 40 years ago. That's 40 years ago. They're not bugged now, you know. And well, I bet it is. And she goes on, jumps in the bed. Well, she got me thinking, you know. So I started looking around. I looked behind the curtains. I looked under the bed. I looked behind the flowers, over the door sill, up under the bed. I searched that room. I couldn't find nothing. So I started getting in bed, and by the time I started to jump in bed, I looked out in the middle of the floor. There's a little throw rug down there, about 8x4 throw rug. I said, I bet you something's under there. Ann's son got me thinking, boy, I bet something's under there. So I go over and pick that rug up, and sure enough, in the floor, there was a little steel plate about that long and about that wide with a screw here and a screw there in the floor. I said, I bet you that's where it's bugged at. So I go over to the dresser, I get me a dime, and come back, unscrew that screw, and I unscrew this screw here, you know. Then I pick that plate up, and I look all under there and look at it. Then I go look down there in the hole where it was screwed in. Nothing. I said, Ann, it definitely is not bugged. So I jump into bed, and we go to sleep. Next morning, we go down and check out. When we go by to check out, the girl there at the desk, she says, did y'all have any trouble with your room last night? Oh, no. Well, was it okay? Oh, yeah, it was wonderful. Well, you heard about the people underneath you, didn't you? No. Chandelier fell on them. Well, there's a lot of parity in college football, ain't it? A lot of parity in college football. You know, now one of the reasons because they set limits on scholarships. You know, back when I was in college, you could sign as many as you wanted. I went to the University of Alabama when I got to high school. There's 125 freshmen. How many of them on scholarships, I don't know, but there's 125 guys out there. You know, so and then I remember when the limit was 45. You could sign 45 a year. Then they cut it to 30. Then they cut it to 20. No, they're down to 25 now. And so therefore, it's hard for anybody to dominate, you see, because you get your 25, so you used to sign 50. Well, I can't get those 25 anymore, so they play against you and they beat you, you know. But that's the parity part of college football, the way it is today. And just like right now, just my own opinion, the way I look at it right now, the way I think the winner of the Alabama-LSU game is going to end up playing Oklahoma for the national championship. That's what I see. Now, this could be some other, I tell you, Wisconsin. I don't know if you watch Wisconsin, boy, they're like $1 million. Then I'm sure some of the others, there'll be other schools that in too. Well, somebody will get lucky and win it. The 2 national championships we won, as Charlie could tell you, we had a little luck. Things happen that you can't account for. You didn't coach it. You know what? Just like we lost to Notre Dame, you remember? They were 1 and we were 2. We were 1 and they were 2 and they beat us. And you say, well, we were out of it. Then they get upset next week by Boston College, who they should have beat 3 touchdowns. You know what? We're lucky on that. But every time we won the national championship, there were some breaks that occurred. And I noticed the same thing last year. You know, I don't know if I keep up with Auburn, Alabama very much because that's my home. And last year, Bama was leading Auburn 24-0 in the second quarter. They were killing Auburn. And Alabama's back, All-American back, comes running down the sideline, about the 20-yard line, right up against the sideline, and an Auburn boy hits him from behind and fumbles the football. It should have rolled right out of bounds. The ball should have just bounced right out of bounds. Been Alabama's ball right there. But it didn't. It rolled straight ahead, and right in the end zone, Auburn recovered it and threw a touchdown pass and ended up beating Alabama 28-27. I mean, see, how do you account for that break? You know, not the tackle, but the fact that the ball didn't roll out of bounds when it would have been bounds. But anyway, things like that occur that can make the difference. And I think somebody will get lucky, and they'll be the team that will win the national championship. Now, in college football, and I think it's true in high school, and I think it's true in your school, athletics are very important. You know, there are a lot of people would like to say, no, it's not either. We don't need athletics. We don't need football. We don't need basketball, track, and we really don't need that. We don't need the girls' sports. You do too. You do too. You know what? Because the kids are going to go to school if you got ball. They can go somewhere else if you don't. I've seen it over and over in the college division. I'll tell you what happened at Florida State. I go to Florida State I was head coach at West Virginia University. I go down to Florida State in 1976. They had gone 3-8, 1-10, 0-11. Now that's what I adopted when I went to West Virginia University. And so, since they were losing, nobody coming to the games. The stadium seated 41,000. It's double that now, but it was 41,000 then. And they were averaging about 17,000 a game. Now, that ain't going to do it. You've got to fill your stadium in a major college because that's what's going to pay all the bills. At Florida State, basketball they might make a couple $1 million. Baseball, break even. No other sport makes money. Every other sport loses money except football. So football with the big stadium has got to support everything. Well, they weren't averaging but 17,000 people there, you know. And so, boy, I get the head job there, man. I got to be sure people come to these games. And as a head coach, I got 10 complimentary tickets. The assistant coaches got 4. I got 10. Now I can do anything I want to with those complimentary tickets, except I can't sell them. It's against the law to sell complimentary tickets. You can give them to whoever you want to. Well, they were for my family. I gave my wife 2 so she could take a friend. And I had 2 children still living at the house. I gave them 2 apiece, 2. I gave a neighbor 2. I had 2 tickets, couldn't get rid of them. Nobody wanted them. I tried to give the janitor, hey, here's your 2 tickets Saturday. I ain't coming. You know, I couldn't get rid of the tickets. I said, I'm going to solve that deal. So the day before the game, I drove down the Tallahassee Mall. Everybody shops at the mall the day before the game. People coming from out of town. So I pulled up right in front of the mall. I had to get a haircut. So before I went in to get a haircut, I took them 2 tickets and put them on the windshield of my car on the outside. I said, somebody will get them tickets. You know, at least I'll have them 2 people there. I go in and get a haircut, folks. I come out in an hour. I got 6 tickets on my windshield. Now, that's how bad it was. But anyway, my first year there at Florida State, when I would go out and recruit, the president would ask me, hey, Bobby, when you're down in Tampa at so-and-so high school, go by and see this young girl. She's a straight-A student. We'd love to get her to come to Florida State. See if you can convince her to come to Florida State. And then when you go over to so-and-so high school over in Orlando, check this young man here. He's an A student, too. We like to get some of those good students up here, you know. So I not only had to recruit football players, I tried to recruit students because we couldn't fill our dorms. You know, it was losing so bad, nobody wanted to go to Florida State. And so I did. Now, 4 years later, we're undefeated. We play in our first major bowl. You know what? We're nationally ranked for the first time in 20 years. You know what happened? In April and May, when we start registering for the next fall and bringing in freshmen, I think we had a quota of 2,500. We can bring in 2,500 freshmen, 2,500 freshmen. That's all we got room for. You know how many applications we had? We had about 5,000. We had about 5,000 just because our football team had been successful and had been on national television and gotten into a major bowl. Now, our president said that. I've heard him talk to our alumni and say the same thing. It's what football did for Florida State University, you see. So there is a place for it. I think a great slogan or saying is that football or athletics, I keep saying football because that's what I coached, it's the eyes through which your university is seen. Would you agree with that? If I ask you what you know about Notre Dame, what could you tell me? You could probably name the coach. You'd probably talk about Newt Rockne. You know, you'd probably talk about the great players that they've had there, you know, but you don't know the president. You don't know what kind of English department they got. You don't know what kind of history department they do. It's got to be good, though. I mean, but you don't know. All you know is about what that dadgum football. You know, and that attracts students. Just like when we had that first year at Florida State where we went into a major bowl for the first time, undefeated season, people would call wanting to know. They'd say, "Oh, I like that school. I like that horse. I like that Indian." You know, and it looks so. Those uniforms are so cute. I think I want to go. So they call down, want to know what kind of English department you got. And they call down and find out what kind of science department y'all got. You know, and if it's good, they come in. But will you agree with me that athletics does play a big role in a school? I know so many schools in the Southeast, y'all South too. But I know so many colleges over there that started football. You know what? Again, to draw students. They want to go where there's ball clubs, you know. And I congratulate you. Y'all recognized that a long time ago. Now I'm going to tell you a couple of football stories. Not a couple. I'm going to tell you one. I'm going to tell you something I learned. Charlie, you came in 90. You played in 92 as you started in 92. You were there in what, 87, 88? But anyway, in 1980, before Charlie came along, Florida State really wasn't on the map. You know, we were a girls' college up till 1947. And we really wasn't on the map. In 1980, we had a pretty good ball club. We won the first game, won the second game, won the third game. The fourth ball game, we were ahead about 40-0 in the fourth quarter. My first team center gets hurt, tears his knee up. He's through. His career's over. Never played anymore. I put my second team center in there. 3 plays later, he sprains his ankle. He can't even walk. Now I hadn't got a center. You ever tried to play without a center? You think that quarterback's pretty valuable? Try it without a center. He's the one that hands him the ball every play. But we lost our 2 centers. Well, now you can't, when you're preparing a team to play, you can't prepare 3 centers. You ain't got time. You get 2, right? Both of mine are out. Well, we had a guard that we had worked on snapping the ball in case this ever happens. Now, by the way, you hardly ever lose a center. You don't usually lose centers. You lose linebackers, you lose running backs and quarterbacks and receivers, but you don't hardly lose centers, but we lost 2. So we took this guard, and he finished the game. We were so far ahead, it made no difference. No pressure, so we won. The next week, we're playing the University of Miami down in Miami. Now, this is back when Miami wasn't very good, and we were just getting good. And we were favored a couple of touchdowns. We'd go play down there in Miami. Well, I'm going to start this guard. I'm going to start him, right? We're okay. And so we got in and played Miami. We fumbled 10 times. Just between the quarterback and center. 10 snaps, we fumbled. Miami got 5 of them. Miami recovered 5 of them. They upset us. They beat us 10-9. We went for 2 points and didn't get it. They beat us 10-9. We were a much better ball club, but we couldn't take snaps. So we go back to Tallahassee. Now, the next week, we're going to play Nebraska. Up there. Now, 1980, they were number 3 in the nation. They were killing it. They had about 4 wins. They were killing whoever they played. Back in those days, you didn't beat Nebraska at Nebraska. And so now we got to go up there and play them. We ain't got a center. So I meet with my coaches. I said, coaches, we got 2 centers on the freshman team down there. We were trying to redshirt. One of them dadgum guys going to play for us this week. So I said, I want you to take both those. One of them was a center from Cincinnati, Ohio. I remember that. About 6'3", about 235, big, tough kid, natural center. And 235 back in was pretty nice size. You can't play now at 235, not center. You got to be 300 pounds now. So anyway, I said, we got that young man on scholarship. Then we got another walk-on. We got a kid here from Savannah, Georgia, Jerry Coleman. Now, Jerry weighs about 190, That's about all he weighed, 190 pounds. And he's a pretty good center. I said, I want you to take both those guys and work them all week equally. And at the end of the week, we're going to decide which one of them starts. So that, sure enough, we practiced Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They practiced taking time apiece. So I got the coaches together. All right, Thursday, who are we going to start? We all agreed that walk-on has got to start. He never fumbles. He can't block nothing. But he never fumbles, So he's going to have to start. The other kid can block pretty good, but he fumbles about every 5 times. We can't start him. We got to go with this guy, So I got to call him in and tell him. I didn't know where to tell him he has to start or he gets to start. I didn't want him leaving. I didn't want him to leave. I sent his mama some flowers too, just to be sure everything was okay there. So anyway, I called him in and said, son, you're gonna start against Nebraska this week. Well, he didn't bat an eye, So anyway, we go up to Nebraska and play them. They had us 14-0 in the first quarter. 14-0. They gonna kill us. We kick a field goal right before the half, 14-3. Our defense starts playing pretty dang good. We come out the second half. We shut them down. And we sneaked in a touchdown, kicked about 4 field goals, and upset them 18-14. They were on our 3-yard line with a minute to go, first down, and they fumbled. We recovered. So we upset them 18-14, and with this center. Now, folks, he ain't blocked his man yet. We had minus 58 yards rushing at the half. Every time we cocked our arm to pass, that nose guard just ran back and killed our quarterback. You know what? So at the halftime, we'd go back and say, we're going to start sprinting the quarterback out. We ain't going to drop straight back. If we sprint that way, maybe that nose guard will go over there. If we sprint this way, maybe he'll go there. Now, if he gets us right, we're going to lose some more yardage. But we can't block him. And that's the way it went. But anyway, we ended up winning the game. Now, here's the key thing. We didn't turn the ball over a single time. We didn't turn it over a single. They turned it over 4 times. You know what? And we upset them and beat them that day. Now, what did I learn from that game? What did I learn from that? I learned the importance of dependability. No, he didn't have any ability. But we won because of his dependability. You know what? And that is so true in any business and in life, is hiring dependable people. If you're a coach, get boys you can depend upon. You know what? I don't care what kind of ability they have. If they don't have dependability, they can't play for you. And I saw that. And I called old Jerry in the next month. I gave him a full scholarship. He never played another down. The other center came back. He never played again. But he graduated. He got his law degree, and I'm sure he's very successful right now. But anyway, I learned such a big lesson there about dependability. You know, today we talk about being a time of entitlement. This is a time of entitlement. You owe me everything. You owe me this. You owe me a living. You owe me this. You owe to give me this. You owe to give me this. You know what? That ain't the way this nation was founded. Our nation was founded on the basis that you worked. And the people who did not work did not get paid and did not get fed. You know. But that's something that's kind of changed too. My favorite proverb is Proverbs 4:23. Keep thy heart with all diligence, because out of it come the issues of life. Out of your heart comes the issues of life. Everything, you don't do nothing that your heart don't tell you to do. Now, when we hear coaches say, boy, we won today because we had great heart. Boy, we had heart today and we won, you know. Or we lost today because they had more heart than we did. You know, boys, you got to have heart. And the scripture says, keep your heart with all diligence. It ain't talking about a muscle. When it talks about your heart, it ain't talking about a muscle. It's talking about your will. It's talking about your emotion. It's talking about your mind. And all that together is your heart, you see. And you don't do nothing without it coming from there, from your will. You know, I will do this. I must do this. I'm going to do this. Now, just think about it. Everything I do begins with a thought. That thought then becomes words. Those words become action. Your action becomes habit. You are known by your habits. And your habits determine your character. And your character determines where you spend eternity. 1939, this is the last, I know y'all getting sleepy. Keep your eyes open just a little bit longer. I'm about to wrap up here. I'm going to tell you this is my last story. This is my favorite football story. Can I tell that? Can I tell y'all my favorite football story? This is a true story. 1939. Number one football team in America was Michigan. They had won the national championship in the year before. They were undefeated in 39. They were on about a 17-game winning streak. They were going to play Illinois. Illinois had the worst team in the country. They had played they opened up the season with Peoria and tied 0-0. Now that's like Texas playing Swanee and tying. You just won't accept that. You know, you just won't accept that. And but they did. And then they got shut out the next game and the next game. They lost every game. They're one tie, 3 losses, and they're fixing to play Michigan the number one team in the nation. They're going to get killed. Now, Coach Elliott, who I heard tell this, I heard him personally tell this story back in 1957. He said that the Illinois team was really one of the poorest teams they ever had. But the thing about it, when they got preparing for Michigan, that Monday, their captain, Mel Harder, mama died. And he got calls, Mel, you've got to come home, your mother has passed away. So he has to leave. Coach said he was the only inspiration they had. He was the heart of their team. They even won a game. He's the best they got, you know. And he said that was the worst week of practice he's ever been through in his life. But they practice anyway and get ready to get slaughtered. That Friday, they took this Illinois, the coaches would take the Illinois team out of town. Charlie, remember how we used to always go up Thomasville on Friday night? Still would get everybody away from their girlfriend and everybody, you know, especially you. I'm worried about you. But anyway, so this Illinois team would go out of town and be in a hotel where they get away from their parents and get away from anything that would distract from football, you know. And so picture this now, the team's Friday night before the game. They're all sitting in a room half the size of this one. All the boys are sitting around the table. They've already had this meal. Coach is up on the board explaining what the last thoughts for the next day. And all of a sudden the back door opens. And everybody turns around. And there comes their captain, Mel Harder, walking through that door. And Mel, he says, man, before y'all say anything, I want to thank y'all for those beautiful flowers you sent my mama. And I want to thank you for the phone calls and the notes, you know. And if y'all think I came back up here to get beat, y'all are crazy. If y'all think I came back up here to get beat, y'all are crazy. Coach said he never saw such a change in his life. He said those boys were, all of a sudden those boys began to focus. You know, they began to stare. He said he saw a certain glint in their eyes, a certain jut to their jaw that he hadn't seen. He said normally by 10 o'clock he had to tell them, hey man, y'all get up and go to bed. By 9:30, all of them had just gotten up and gone to the bed, you know, whereas they usually like to sit up and joke around. Coach said before he went to bed, he always went by the rooms to see if everybody was okay. So he went around, he checked all the rooms. He said the boys, some of them were just lying there staring at the ceiling or at the floor in deep thought. Different. Something's different, you know. And the next day, sure enough, that Illinois team went out and upset that Nebraska football. Nebraska had Tommy Harmon. This is before all y'all's time, but if you ever read in history, read about Tommy Harmon. They had Forrest Evashevsky, they had Frutig, they had Polsford. They had about 5 All-Americans on that dadgum Michigan football team. And Illinois hadn't won a game, beat them. You know. Now the question is this. This Illinois team that beat Michigan, is that the same team that lost all them other games? They beat the number one football. Is that the same team? Got the same uniforms. Wear the same helmets. Got the same muscles. The same poundage, but they wasn't the same team. Why? Because the issues of life come where? From the heart. Don't you ever forget that. I sure enjoyed seeing everybody. It's just great to be here. Thank you very much.